90 years ago, a president with a big domestic agenda said he needed swift implementation of that agenda to save the nation. And he tried to fire a bureaucrat named William Humphrey, a member of the Federal Trade Commission. Humphrey and his trust sued, and the Supreme Court ruled against that president. That president was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. President Trump's top lawyer told the Supreme Court today that that decision, way back in FDR's time, was deeply flawed, and that presidents should be able to fire members of independent agencies. The High Court appeared sympathetic, meaning a vast restructuring of federal power may soon follow. For more on this, CBS News chief legal correspondent Jan Crawford joins me now from the Supreme Court. Jan, you were there. How'd it go?
Well, I mean, today's Mr. Humphrey is a FTC commissioner by the name of Rebecca Slaughter. And when President Trump fired her back in March, she sued. She said presidents, because of that old case you cited, can't fire members of these independent federal agencies. The way they're created is that they have 5-year, 7-year terms. They go through administrations, and they're supposed to be bipartisan. Her lawyer made those arguments in court today, and it was a pretty rough row for him to hoe, because this is a Supreme Court that has signaled over the years that is increasingly concerned about the power that these independent federal agencies now exercise. Whatever it may have looked like back in 1914 when Congress created the Federal Trade Commission, or in 1935 when it last weighed specifically on this issue, that is not the modern day federal agency.
And was there a conversation before the High Court, Jan, about the implications of if the Supreme Court were to side with the administration on this case, could that jeopardize the independence of something like the Federal Reserve?
Major, I think this just indicated this is a pretty clear 6-3 split, with the conservatives siding with the Trump administration and saying that presidents do have this power because these agencies have changed, that they're accountable to no one now. So the president can have this power to remove these officials. At least then he has to be accountable to the voters. The liberal justices didn't see it that way at all. They predicted chaos. Justice Sonia Sotomayor said to the lawyer for the Trump administration, for example, that you're asking us to basically destroy the structure of our government. But again, those are only 3 of the justices on that 9-member court. And I think the conservatives pretty clearly signaled that this is the direction they're going. And Major, they've been signaling it for years. There have been several cases going back at least in the past decade where they've gradually said that Congress can't put these limits on presidential firings. And in fact, President Biden himself fired a member of the Social Security Administration using some of that same kind of rationale. So this is a case that, while I think it is going to be a victory for Trump, it's important to remember that it's going to apply to all presidents, that Democratic presidents will also have this same authority. When they come into office, they can remove these members of these independent federal agencies if the court rules, as it did suggest that it would be today in the FTC case, which also means it'll apply in some of these other federal agencies like the National Labor Relations Board, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, and on and on. There's about 24 other agencies that'll impact, Major.
Going even farther back in history, Alexander Hamilton argued on behalf of an energetic executive. Well, that was one of the issues before the court. Jan Crawford, as always, thank you so much for summarizing.